Hey guys, Duke Films here, and today we have another video for you all. This is part of it's kind of a celebration for 10-year anniversary of Dino Films and the 30-year anniversary of Jurassic Park. I'm going to be going through my brother's and I's Jurassic Park toy collections. In this video, I'll be going through the stuff we have unopened. So, without further ado, first we have this thing. This is the Fallen Kingdom Jurassic World Gyrosphere escape vehicle. It's absolutely ridiculous. The whole vehicle just explodes open, and the gyrosphere's here. Oh yeah, I should also mention Wolfgamer's here. Say hello.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, so this is just the vehicle. It's big and annoying and flips open on its own. Here's the gyrosphere. As you can see, it has one of the commandos in it. It's only a one-seater, which is just kind of weird. So we're gonna put that over there. Next, we have one of my favorite additions to my collection. This is the Thrasher Lost World Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you can see, it is here in the flesh. It's kind of old, to say the least. It's 25, 26 years old. The mechanism still kind of works. So does the biting mechanism. Very sharp, but it looks super pretty. Obviously its tail is a little short and warped, and it can't stand anymore, but it looks really good, and it's real feel and T-Rex like. Next we have the real feel Jurassic Park 1993 Triceratops. Got this off of Facebook Marketplace. Here we have the Destroy and Devour Indominus Rex. This thing is kind of awesome. Here's, it's awesome action feature, but my problem with it is that it definitely has some proportion problems, and the mechanism is a little fragile. But other than that, it's a very nicely sculpted figure, nice and hefty for the most part, and it's a very nice Indominus Rex, probably the best one we've gotten. Next we have the Extreme Chompin' Cretaceous Dino Escape Primal Attack Spinosaurus. Very awesome to have. Out of box. Jurassic World Dominion Therizinosaurus. One of my favorite figures to come out this past year. Probably my favorite single dinosaur figure, because it's actually pretty good high quality. The paint isn't too horrendous as compared to some of the other Dominion figures, and it's pretty decent size as well. Here we have the Thrash and Throw Tyrannosaurus Rex from 2018. It's a pretty decent figure. I know a lot of people have grown to kind of not like it because it can't stand that well, but I kind of like these colors, especially since Mattel only used this orangey brown for about 1 year before transitioning to the darker browns in the next year. Nostalgic figure for me, so I have some goggles with them. And then we have a second one. This is the one we got when the toy line released, and the action feature doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. The other one there, I found on Facebook Marketplace in a pretty good deal. Oh, here we have the Destroy and... oh my god, I don't even know the name of these things anymore. This is the Bite and Fight Tyrannosaurus Rex from 2019. This is still probably my favorite T-Rex figure Mattel has made in the main line, because it has no electronics, and that's basically the only reason why. But I really like its sculpt and paint job. I think it's pretty awesome. I like the gray brown and the nice brown on top. And the action feature obviously is pretty horrendous. But I think it's kind of fun and unique. Now we're gonna go down a few tiers. Hasbro Chompin' Rex, pretty horrendous. At least it didn't have like a bunch of screw holes in it until it's re-release or retool. This was unfortunately a highlight for 2015. Here we have the an Action Attack Stegosaurus 2020 Camp Cretaceous. I really like this paint scheme. The black and the gray are just super pretty, I think. And, it's got a classic action feature and the sculpt is pretty good, one of Mattel's best in my opinion. Pretty accurate to the Jurassic World films.
Speaking of Hasbro,
yes, we got the I think they called this the Bad Boy Indominus Rex or something, even though the Indominus is female. This thing looks so bad. There goes half the kingdom, but just like that comparison and head sculpt, like it's not even a competition. This one's so much more accurate and more detailed. This thing just kind of looks like, I don't know, it's so meh. I will say it does feel heavy, and you know, has the rubber, but it's kind of not the best rubber quality, as we can see, and very cartoony. Good for the time, still pretty decent, but the Mattel ones are definitely better. While we're talking about Indominuses, I guess I can show off the remaining Hasbro ones. Here is the, I guess you want to call it battle damage Indominus, or Malosaurus. It's got the trapdoor. This one I like a lot. This is probably one of my favorite Hasbro toys. It looks, all these sections are weird and the bullet holes, but the sculpt is actually not too bad because it's actually like a film model. And then we also have this kind of smaller bad boy. Looks very much like the other Hasbro Indominus, just kind of shrunken down. This one definitely looks better than this one and the one that's dead down there. But yeah, I'm glad Mattel has the license now. The scale is just that damage. Ugh. Here we have the Dino Rivals Parasaurolophus from 2019. Still like this one quite a bit, even though the Hammond Collection figure exists. It's just very pretty. I will say, like, the arms and the legs are definitely a different plastic color. Like, slightly, and the paint isn't the best, but I think it's a pretty good first attempt, and it still kind of holds up. Still pretty decently colored, definitely opposed to some of the other Parasaurolophus figures, including that one right up there. Next we have, yes, the infamous Indoraptor, the superposable one. Not the best head sculpt, but this definitely was kind of the precursor to the Hammond Collection and Amber Collection, of course. Pretty decent sculpt overall, and obviously the joints don't hold up for too long, but it's definitely nice for the time. Next we have probably one of my favorite figures, like, ever. The Hammond Collection Baryonyx. It just looks super pretty, and all the detail on this guy and the articulation is just so nice in comparison to almost everything Mattel has made. And yeah, this definitely was probably the best figure in Wave 1 of Hammond Collection, so very awesome. And we have the Amber Collection Delta. I didn't collect almost any Amber Collection because I just had no interest, especially since they were releasing so many Raptors. And this one actually has a quality control problem. I can't close the bottom jaw at all. But this is probably my favorite of the Raptors, because I do like the color palette. Yeah, no, it's just kind of stands out with my collection because it's the only 6-inch Raptor. But I guess I could use it for like a Utah Raptor or something, so I still appreciate that I received this. It's very nice sculpt-wise, but quality control, not so much. The Hammond Collection Triceratops just was revealed not too long ago that we're getting a bigger Triceratops in the same sculpt already, but I still love the details on this one, and the articulation will obviously be different, so I'm really glad I picked this one up, and all the details on this figure are just so pretty. I didn't even realize that there was paint, like muddy wash on some of these joints here. It just looks really good. Obviously the light brings out something like the technique that they use to kind of replicate it, but it still looks good. Not so good, we have this was Mattel's second attempt at Parasaurolophus. They tried to make it the bioluminescent variant, and it kind of like put like nail polish all over it, and it's just like a simplified version of the original release. And I just don't think it looks as good, but it has more articulation. As you can hear that, it actually has sounds, so you know, you kind of get some benefits with the previous release and some benefits with this new release, and vice versa in terms of negatives. New Parasaurolophus. This was the Hammond Collection version. A lot of people have some complaints for this figure, but I think it's probably their best Parasaurolophus. Obviously, that face is a bit wide, and it looks a little silly, but it's definitely much nicer painted than any of the others. The articulation is nice, and I like the overall sort of posture, and I still think it's pretty decent for what it is. The Corythosaurus uses a lot of these sculpt parts, which is pretty nice and accurate to the actual movie. Oh yeah, I forgot this jaw articulation isn't that good, but I still like this thing. It has a special place in my heart. It's bigger than the others, and it just looks pretty good for the most part. It's just kind of like the head that bothers me. Other than that, Mattel's best Parasaurolophus, and arguably the best Parasaurolophus we've ever had. Except for maybe this one, which is the Kenner Parasaurolophus from the Lost World, with its running mechanism. The overall, I think, proportions are very nice because it's based on the Stan Winston maquette, almost 1-to-1. And the paint is about as good as this one, if not slightly better, maybe. It doesn't have nearly as much articulation, so I believe these two are really good together. I like them a lot. They're definitely different from one another, but I really like these both. Here we have the Fallen Kingdom Baryonyx. I still think this is the best mainline Baryonyx that they've released, because I really like the paint, and there's kind of a lot of it here, and they actually used it to a good degree. The sound effects are weird because it uses Tyrannosaurus mainly, but I still like this one. It's kind of like a mix between the website design in terms of stature and some elements from the Fallen Kingdom design. And of course, we have a few re-releases of it. We have this repaint, which is nice and green. I really like this one. Nice and swampy. Not nearly as much paint, unfortunately, but I still like how this one turned out. And I got this one for a good deal because they're putting these guys on clearance. I believe this guy was about $3 when I got it. And then here's Grim from Camp Cretaceous. They changed the sculpt to make it wider, and added the sort of primal attack thrashing feature. But the head being the same size kind of makes the body look extra thick. It just looks kind of funny because the head is nearly the exact same size. But yeah, other than that, really love the Baryonyx, as you can tell. I wanted to show the Edmontosaurus. I like this guy quite a bit. I was very shocked to see this guy come out so quickly after Evolution's release, because this is basically what it is the Evolution Edmontosaurus. In fact, it's based on, I believe, the Tundra skin from the game. It's pretty decent, obviously not accurately sized, but my actual only problem with this figure, I think, is probably the fact that it made Indoraptor sounds, which is absolutely cursed. But other than that, it's a pretty decent figure, nice and hefty too, and pretty nice to display with the fellow Parasaurolophus down there. Next we have the Velociraptor X from Chaos Effect 1998. Now this thing is absolutely absurd, and I was just randomly gifted this from a random student in my 6th grade, so I thank them for this. I don't think they knew what it was, because they just kind of said, "Do you want this dinosaur toy?" I'm like, "Sure," and then they gave it to me. And now I am forever grateful for that. It's a really good figure. Very much a piece of history. Doesn't really match anything else in the collection, except maybe one more figure I'll mention later. But yeah, very cool hybrid. Next we have one of the many Velociraptors. We have the Hasbro Junior Velociraptor. Now, this thing doesn't really look that great, I will say, because it's obviously more cartoony, but it has some nice sounds. If we can show it. I love the sounds. They're so nice. Just straight from Jurassic Park. But overall, this thing is just kind of a nice little piece to have, as it's just kind of interesting. Not very accurate to a raptor from real life or the movies. Now we got two Hasbro Raptors. we have Velociraptor blue, I guess. Like, it's literally black stripe, so I always say it's Velociraptor black. And then here's Charlie. Now even between these two, like the sculpt quality is just like slightly worse for Charlie for some reason. They're released later in the year. But they both have just like generic action features. I like the sounds. The sounds are really nice. But overall, these things just don't really look too great. Maybe if you give them like extra paint job and make them kind of statues, then sure, but not really too good for toys. Definitely not scale either. Here's another Velociraptor. This is another Velociraptor black. This one is the Basher Biter from the hybrid line, if I'm not mistaken, and has a little bit of an action feature. The actual action feature broke. If you listen, yeah, there's some rattling. This one looks about the same. I was gonna say maybe better, but not really. It's nice that it has the camera though. And then it also came with a few other things, but this little flashlight accessory where if you kind of shine it on, you can see these vague like hexagon patterns on her, which is kind of weird. But it's a nice little UV light toy. Yeah, it's kind of something, I guess. Here is the original Jurassic Park Velociraptor. The action features kind of works, kind of, I say very loosely. But I really like the way this one looks. It's pretty standard position. Head's, you know, a little cartoony, but it's perfect 90s, and those proportions are very nice overall. Next we have, it kind of looks similar, a Mattel Jumping Raptor from 2018. This was the closest I thought we had to a Jurassic Park Raptor for a while. I really like this sculpt on this one, and I really like that eye, and just the overall paint's pretty decent, and I like the articulation and the action feature. I think is kind of fun. It's like the strange jumping feature, which I can't really showcase here, but I really like this one. Then we have a few more Jurassic Park Raptors, some from the actual Jurassic Park movie toy line. Here's two Screeching Raptors in different sort of conditions. Some of them have a little bit less paint as they've been probably thrown at a wall, and they both were corroded with battery acid, I'm afraid, but they're still very interesting little guys. Not the best sculpt-wise in my opinion, but I think they're just really nice to have. Little relics of the 1993 Kenner line. Now we have sort of Mattel's, I guess, official first attempt, I would say, at Jurassic Park Raptors. These two have green glowing eyes, which is kind of neat, and I think they're pretty decent for what they are. Nice brown patterns, very nice painted claws, surprisingly, and the paint's actually really good on these guys. I know a lot of people don't, or I know some people have stated they don't like the metallic eyes, but I think they're a nice little addition, and yeah, I think these are pretty good for the set that they came in. That's, I believe, a year later, almost, they released this guy, which was another Jurassic Park style raptor, which has just more detail. Arguably, more detail kind of makes it less accurate, because the raptor definitely has these stripes, but they're definitely a lot more faint, and I think this paint work doesn't work quite as well, especially with the head being that solid piece of plastic, but yeah, it still looks pretty decent for what it is. So a nice little raptor figure. Obviously, crouching position's a bit limiting, but I think it's nice for if you want to make some nice dioramas. Here's another jumping raptor. This one is very, very pretty. Wolf Gamer, what did you state it kind of reminded you of?
It reminded me like the paint kind of reminds me of like the ocean or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I don't know, it just kind of looks sea-ish.
Yeah, it's got those sea greens.
Yeah.
Definitely kind of reminds me of a coastal raptor. It also kind of reminds me of a Delta down there from Jurassic World. This is probably their best Delta, which is just a random legacy collection jumping raptor, which is funny. But yeah, this one's really awesome. I love this raptor. In terms of Raptor Squad, we have a few other members. Here's Charlie. Now this one's the Camp Cretaceous Charlie, Primal Attack Charlie rather. Has that action feature, and this is actually a repaint of a Dino Rivals blue figure. I don't know how to feel about this one. I kind of like its colors. It has claw paint, thankfully, on its toes at least. But the sculpt detail is like weirdly, slightly like glossy and less prominent than even previous figures. I don't know if you can tell on camera. But it's just a lot more shiny on certain portions, like the body especially. It's just like cheaper-ish plastic or gloss plastic. And stripes are kind of weird how they just end on the base of the tail, but still a nice little Charlie to have. Still a nice natural color scheme. Here
we go. The most dinosaur that's been released.
Blue. There's like 11 Mattel blues. I have 4, I think, and these are the 2 that I have unboxed. Just the original 2018 figures, well, 2 of the 3. This is the Attack Pack blue, which is just really basic. Not too, it's good for repaints because it almost has no paint, but it's just kind of like a whatever raptor. That's not too great. But this one I love a lot. This is the Battle Damage blue, which I think has a really good sculpt, nice articulation, and just overall it's just so much nicer than the Attack Pack. Such an upgrade. Really wish there's a few raptors I think Mattel has released that's kind of stack up to this one, but this is probably one of my favorites. Here's a Velociraptor Ghost. It's super blinding in this light. The sculpt is there, but I feel like definitely more paint should have been used. But it's still nice to have a Velociraptor, and it's nice and big too. I mean, even with limited articulation, they made it like the size of the Savage Strikes, so you can actually have Ghost and Blue fight each other, which is always fun. Yeah, I bought this set mainly because it had Ghost, but also because of the accessories and stuff it came with. But yeah, here's Ghost. Very nice sculpt, paint.
Something that they do now, they have
this tag on the inside. Definitely preferred just the foot tag. Not sure why Mattel felt the need to innovate this feature, since this one worked for nearly 4 years, but it's a break in the sculpt that they didn't need to add. Probably increase the price of the toy too, since it's an additional piece of plastic rather than just a paper sticker. But you know, what are we gonna do? And I can't really convince Mattel now. This Legacy Collection Raptor, it's literally just a random raptor that's gray. Not too bad. You know, I kind of like that eye. And it's kind of similar to the Attack Pack Blue, slightly different plastic color. But yeah, same sculpt. Just, you know, it's just another raptor that's came in the set. Here's an interesting one. This is Jurassic Park 3, a female raptor repaint, which has a action feature there. Very aggressive stance, very gnarly raptor. I like the jungle patterns though. Don't like that big gash that's just open, but
I think the eye paint on the like the eye paint's kind of like wearing out, I think.
So we have 2 more raptors here. These are the Cyclops raptors from the Lost World. Found these at a thrift store. Very nice. I like these raptors a lot. Obviously this mouth hangs open, but I kind of like this action feature. The last raptor is this Attack Pack Blue that I repainted like 2 or 3 years ago to be a Tiger Raptor. I don't think it looks too great, but I think it's my first attempt and only attempt at a Mattel repaint, and I think it turned out fine. Definitely a little sloppy, definitely not too good. I'm gonna retackle this figure one day. In fact, I'll probably just reuse this one, because I definitely feel like I can do a bit better. But yeah, so that's it for raptors. Next, we're going to look at these two, the Cryoloposaurus and the Allosaurus. I think these guys go well together because not only are they Jurassic predators, but they also look pretty goofy and cartoony, both of them. They both have very nice sculpt detailing, but I'd say, especially the Cryoloposaurus, fits well with Chaos Effect. I got this guy on sale because Target incorrectly marked this fella and the other dinosaurs that released on sale when they came out for some reason. And Target appraised the price from there, but here is the Hasbro Junior T-Rex, if you want to call it that. It looks really horrendous, but I also got this in the same lot. I got the Thrasher Rex from the Lost World. Looks more like the Dominion Giga, arguably, but it's just a green T-Rex, and it chomps, and it was making some pretty cool sounds, but I think it ran out of batteries finally. Weirdly better quality than the actual main line, which is questionable. Specifically the Carnotaurus from Mattel's 2018 Jurassic World line. I think this is the best Carno that they've made. None of the other Carnos really interest me. They're all way too large. Even this one is too large, but the colors on this one are awesome. That head sculpt, as you can tell, is not 100% accurate, because it's actually based on some of like the practical busts that they were carrying around on set. Some of the prototypes, or rather concept designs, rather than the final film design. So Mattel barely does anything paint-wise like this anymore, so I really, really love this thing. It's got a special place in my heart. And talk about that action feature. It's really fun. Next we have the Dino Rivals Albertosaurus. Pretty sought after. Sorry, mine's a little dusty. I really like this thing a lot. I mean, proportions, especially that tail, are kind of horrendous. Its head is pretty massive, but I really like this sculpt. To me, it doesn't really scream Albertosaurus. It kind of reminds me more of like an Allosaurus, of course, especially in this head. Like, obviously, this goes kind of a showcase of how little paint Mattel can use. As you can see, there's barely any paint on this guy, just like on the head and the back a little bit. Toe claws, thankfully, and you know, the scar. But a lot of the, I guess, budget was spent on this double damage here, the gummy organ, which is awesome and all. They correspond with like the Dino Rivals 2 action features or whatever. But you know, it's got some nice articulation as well. Yeah, overall, pretty nice figure, and I'm glad I was able to pick this up. Alright, next we have the Mattel Carcharodontosaurus. I absolutely adore this thing. This is probably like one of my favorites in the collection. Not only is it literally the Jurassic World evolution Carcharodontosaurus, it has capture gear. Now the capture gear is such a nice addition. Was not expecting this to like ever come back in like, you know, at least some capacity, but it did. And of course, you can complain about the lack of toe paint, and I think that's my major complaint. But sculpt wise, I really like it, and the action feature is pretty fun as well. Here is a 12-inch basic Pachycephalosaurus from 2018. This thing is pretty weird. Got this from my brother at Kohl's. It's, you know, kind of interesting. I like the ability that this can be used as sort of like a, you know, if you wanted to paint, you can go to town on this thing and really bring all these details to life. In terms of a toy, it's just gonna, you know, out of scale giant Pachycephalosaurus, which I guess is kind of neat if you wanted this, but, you know, it's still a nice addition to have in the collection, I think. Here's a fun one. Here's the Destructosaurus Pteranodon. Now, this thing is absolutely out of scale, and definitely based on Jurassic Park 3 and not Jurassic World, which is weird. Even though this came out for the second Jurassic World movie, but I digress. It is such a nice figure. It has, you know, a nice flapping feature, and some articulation and whatnots, and of course that magnet to interact with the helicopter. Next we have a few herbivores. Here's the Mattel Ankylosaurus from 2018. Still probably my favorite Ankylosaurus, minus Hammond Collection, which I don't own yet. Definitely gonna look out for it. It's got a, you know, a nice action feature. I really like the sculpt, and it kind of the colors remind me of Jurassic Park Builder, if y'all remember that game. Like, it just That's what it reminds me of. It's definitely not like Fallen Kingdom colors. It doesn't scream that to me. But same with the Triceratops, which is right here. These obviously came out from Fallen Kingdom, but don't really look anything like, you know, the generic gray and greens. But I definitely prefer these colors way more. Don't get me wrong. These are some great action figures, I would say. Some of Mattel's sort of best. You know, the sculpts are there, obviously based on Jurassic World, so if you don't like the Jurassic World sculpts, you definitely won't like these. But I think definitely having them in different colors. Next we have the Mattel Pachyrhinosaurus. Yeah, not a Cenoceratops. Cenoceratops colored and marketed, but definitely not Cenoceratops. And I really like the sculpt, and I kind of wish they kept the original colors that it had. But this is still a nice figure. The sculpt's definitely there, and it's just a hunkin' piece of plastic. Of course, very nice action feature, and yeah, it's got a lot of paint actually. A lot of the spikes, a lot of the horns are actually painted, and so is the beak, which is very nice. And there's so much paint, it's insane. Mattel would never do something like this nowadays. 2018, if you couldn't tell, the 2018 line is probably my favorite, just because like each dinosaur like felt like it stood out, and well, they actually were painted fairly decently. So yeah, there's the Pachyrhinosaurus. Alright, here's one. This is the Hasbro Mosasaurus. This thing is ridiculously insane. It's a film model, weirdly, so it's like more accurate sculpt-wise than the Mattel one, kind of. Not really. It's obviously very small. The action feature is just kind of weird. The whole tail raises up and kind of chomps. It's kind of cool, I guess, but it feels like it's going to break in 5 seconds. And of course, here's the damage that doesn't really work either. Yeah, this thing is not in good shape. For good reason, it's cheap. Speaking of garbage, here is 2 Hasbro Pteranodons, which are also Jurassic Park 3 for some reason, even though they came out for the Jurassic World movie. Say Jurassic Park 3 is, and they're definitely inspired by. If you notice, there's slight variance of each other, this one having more purple, but this one having a more prominent Jurassic World logo, which is really weird. Of course, their action feature is like just a, you know, flapping whatnot. And pecking, I guess. Of course, you can open each other's innards, like so. We're going to take a look at some smaller Mattel figures that I've released. Here is the Dominion Dimetrodon, the extreme damage version. So it has the strange sliding drum with permanent scar marks. Definitely preferred the original battle damage sort of gimmicks, but this guy has some articulation and not much paint, I will say, but definitely, yeah, the articulation's definitely here. And of course the chip. Both the button and the chip kind of stand out, but it's nice that they're part of the sale. But I think the sculpt is there. It's definitely pretty serviceable. Next we have the battle damage Sticky Moloch. Again, prefer this door, and there's a lot more paint on this guy. Like, oh my gosh, look, toe claws are painted. Of course these hands aren't, but it doesn't bother me as much. It's probably the best Sticky Moloch we have. As of now, Hammond collection to be determined. The colors are so nice. They're obviously a little stylized from the film model, but I really like this one. Here is 3 different Attack Pack Gallimimus. All of these, I guess, are Target exclusive versions. These 2 came in the Target, I believe, 6-pack, and this was in the Legacy Collection 5-pack. All really nice and very good for herd building, definitely. Definitely nice for like a backdrop, just having all these 3 in the background. Next we have Mattel's Dimorphodon. This came in the 6-pack as well. I think this is called the Sun-Winged Dimorphodon in the community, because of these beautiful prints put on the wings. This is also re-released individually, and this was probably the closest we had to the Jurassic World Dimorphodon. Speaking of pterosaurs, here's the Rhamphorhynchus from Primal Attack, a repaint from Dino Rivals. This one's definitely more on the cartoony side. Of course, they couldn't make the teeth as sharp as the actual animal, because it would pierce people and break off, since they would be super skinny. But I got this guy for like 50 cents. And if you notice, there's a second one right there. And they were on clearance at Walgreens, and I saw both of them and was like, you know what, why not? They're so cheap. So I got them. It was such a good deal. More Mattel figures here. Here is basically Mattel's, one of many Mattels. Haha, Hasbro, you sucks. I am gonna call them that. This is sort of their Pteranodon down there, but in the Mattel style. It's got the purple and the gray coloration, and still Jurassic Park 3 base because it has the teeth and the general sculpt, and also a much smaller size. Definitely more accurate, I'd say. Here we have two Attack Pack Dilophosaurs. This one's from the 6-pack, and this one's from the Legacy Collection 5-pack. Now, this was, I would say, the closest to the actual Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. In terms of colors, I love the spit pieces that they have, and it's just so pretty. I like how Mattel, even if some of them are not the best, I do like that Mattel makes a lot of Dilophosaurus paint jobs, and they always do something kind of interesting with the frill. Of course, these ones use the same sort of base, they just kind of change the colors. Next we have what I think is probably the closest to Jurassic Park now, is the Dominion Dilophosaurus, which is not just a repaint, weirdly. It's, if you can kind of tell, it is much larger, but it's like the same sculpt, minus the frill being a lot more, this one's a lot more rounded, while this one's definitely a lot more aggressive looking. And I'd say the colors on this one, and the pattern that they chose, is just a lot more complex and striking. Comes with an even larger spit piece, which is now black, and I really just love the colors on this one. I had to pick this up, and it came with Claire, so, which I didn't have yet, so I was just so happy. The Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, the Screecher, definitely not too film accurate, but pretty close, and of course we've got the action feature. The battery compartment was completely corroded, so I removed the batteries, but the sculpt is actually pretty decent. Not as cartoony as some of the other Kenner sculpts, I will say. Of course, that eye definitely, and that creaking. Of course, hey, look at this, guys. Kenner didn't paint their hand or toe claws on this one. Wonder what the Mattel haters have to say about that one. But even better than that, at least in sculpt-wise, is this Dilophosaurus, the Dino Rivals Savage Strike. I think this is my favorite Dilophosaurus toy, just ever, for Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. Not only does it have an articulated jaw, mine's a little broken. The frill piece is very nice. The body posture is, like, really accurate. It's got some nice articulation. And of course, the action feature, which would actually absorb water and spit it out through the plastic tube on the inside. I just think it's such a nice throwback to the Kenner Spitter Dilophosaurus toy. And obviously, not everyone likes these colors, but I'm a bit biased. I love purple. Purple is my favorite color. And just the sculpt detail is so nice. Oh my gosh. Last few smaller Mattel dinosaur figures. Here we have two Jurassic Park the Game-ish figures. We have the Troodon, definitely inspired from Jurassic Park the Game, and Horosaurus, which obviously looks a little bit like the one from Jurassic Park the Game. These guys are, I like these guys a lot. Overall, I think. Obviously, there's a little bit of sculpt things that aren't the greatest on both of them. Oof. But still nice to have both of them because they're both like Jurassic Park the game inspired toys, and that's just something that we would have never expected such a long time ago. It's nice to have these two together for sure. Next, I have this young T-Rex Jr. This is the Dino Rivals re-release, or not re-release, but repaint. Oh god, sorry about that. I love the sculpt overall, and we're getting a Hammond Collection version, which, sorry, but blows this one out of the water. But this is still a nice one to have. This one didn't come with any capture gear, and the Bull Rex is actually with my brother. He's the one who has it, because he wanted it so badly, and it's, I don't blame him, but I just really wanted to keep the Junior Rex, so that's why I have him. His jaw seems to be dislocating, definitely noticeable, but at least there's no screw holes, I guess. Oh, here's a cool one. This is the Lost World Pachycephalosaurus. And I found this at a thrift store with those Cyclops raptors, and the action feature still works. Obviously, this thing is really nice. I like it a lot. It's the classic Lost World Kenner. Has a painted hand and toe claws, weirdly. It's definitely not too accurate to the movie, but I think that's fine. I think it's a nice Pachycephalosaurus. Definitely those hands are a little cursed, but other than that, I really like this thing. Here are two Jurassic World Aqua Attack. Here are two Jurassic Park 3 Aqua Attack Spinosaurus Aegypticus. I love this figure. It's super nostalgic to me. I actually had a third one when I was younger, but then the tail broke off, and not exactly sure what happened with it, but I think it got thrown away, unfortunately, but found this one at a thrift store, and was like, oh my god, I can't believe I found one of these, and the batteries still work, and the action feature kind of works, and it's like, what? That's so crazy, and I love just the colors on this thing, and the sculpt is pretty good. And then I remember coming home, and stuff used to fall off my shelf a lot, so I was shocked, or I found this, and I found this sitting beside my shelf, and I was like, oh, it must have fallen off. So I grabbed this, and was about to replace it, and I noticed this one was still in its spot, and I was like, what? Did it duplicate? And then I found out that my parents went to the thrift store and found another one. So I'm happy to have both, and they have some variation. This one is darker brown and like some pink on it than this one, and the eye obviously stands out a bit more on this one. But yeah, I really like both of them. Obviously they're in very exaggerated positions, and their tails are pretty short, but I think they're nice for posing, and the sculpt work is pretty nice. Going further in the future, but down into the drain, we have the Jurassic World Spinosaurus. I don't know how you go from this beauty to this thing. I got this because I really wanted a Spinosaurus toy, and could say I was not too impressed. I think I have a review from 2015 when I got this thing. It just looks not appealing at all, but at least it has painted hand and toe claws. Yay. But the action feature is kind of cool, I guess. You lift it, the head up, then roar, and it's kind of cool. But it's just kind of roaring, and feels McDonald's-like, and the colors are just kind of whatever, and it's just such a whatever. And of course it doesn't even stand that well, so, nice, like, piece of history, I would say, but definitely not that great in terms of toy quality. Now here's something cool. Here is a camo Now this is awesome. This is the Camo Extreme Jurassic Park 3 Tyrannosaurus Rex. I remember finding this under a shelf at Goodwill, and I was absolutely just shocked because I just read like a article about like this specific toy on, I think it was JP Toys. I was like, oh, that would be kind of cool to have. And it was so weird. Love the colors on this. The pose is pretty cool. Obviously the huge gashes are kind of whatever. Not that it would not be alive, to say the least. The action feature, you know, there's some nice chomping. Yeah, I like this thing a lot. And then I also found at that same Goodwill, many years later, this bootleg Jurassic Park 3 T-Rex. As you can see, it's still got the scar, but it's not painted. And the feet, weirdly, are like entirely different. Like just sculpt-wise, they're a lot more, I guess, Tyrannosaur-like rather than whatever this thing is. So they actually improved something, which is weird, out of all the things. The colors are kind of cool, and it's got painted hand and toe claws, but I just saw it and was like, you know what, sure. And instead of an action feature, it just has articulation. So I'd count that as part of the Jurassic Park toys. It's literally just a bootleg of this one. But it's still kind of cool to have. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the Red Rex a bit. I'll also say it's a lot lighter because it doesn't have a battery compartment, unlike this one. From that same assortment, I found a bootleg Jurassic Park 3 Triceratops about a week later. I just saw this and was like, okay, sure. Got the Tyrannosaur, might as well get the trike. And yeah, it's got articulation and it's got the sculpt of Jurassic Park 3 Triceratops. But it's definitely feels a bit cheapy and doesn't have much paint going on. But I think it's pretty cool to have. Just as a nice knockoff. But it's not half bad, it kind of works. Next I have like a bunch of assorted mini dinosaurs. Here's a bunch of the Mattel Compies. There's about 5 of them, not 4. Just in a bunch of different positions. They're all very nice, I think. Obviously they don't have any paint, but they're little nice accessories to kind of like put on the humans and kind of have them go to town. Their sculpt isn't too bad. I mean, and they're like this gummy, rubbery plastic, which is kind of fun. Next we have a bunch of assorted Jurassic World minis. This gray raptor I found at a Goodwill, but the other ones we actually got in blind bags. They're kind of fine. I like the Dimorphodon the most, I think, but they aren't too great in terms of quality. There's kind of plastic whatnots. These ones are almost entirely a solid color. This one actually has a lot going on, which I appreciate. But yeah, some nice Jurassic World minis. Here's some Mattel minis. Here's little Bumpy, super adorable. I like this one a lot. This is probably my favorite mini they've ever released. Mine had a quality defect, so I had to Sharpie on an old eye, but I like Bumpy. Here's 2 Fallen Kingdom Stegosaurs. Very nice sculpt work. Oh gosh, I'm dropping these things all over the place. Of course, I got 2 of them. Here is a Ankylosaurus. The sculpt on this one looks better than the mainline one and the Hammond Collection one because it's got more roundness to its it's got better proportions and more of a roundness to its armored plating. And there's this one, which came with a mercenary guy that we showed earlier. Definitely lacking all paint, but it's got a nice little pose, I suppose. And then here's a little Steve Moloch, which is kind of nice. And a few of these guys actually have articulation, as you can see, which is very shocking to me. But yeah, so those are some Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom minis. Oh god. I don't know what this is from. Obviously it's Jurassic Park 3. It says Deco Pack on the bottom. But it's just this little Spinosaurus. And it's got like a action feature, which is kind of funny. And then here is the Brontosaur Indominus Rex. Still got all of its functioning parts, but I don't have any other Brontosaurs. I just found this at a thrift store. I think I found, well, both of these at a thrift store. And this I just saw, I'm like, you know what, why not add a Brontosaur to my collection? But it's, you know, a nice little piece of Jurassic World history. Some say it's the best Jurassic World toys that they released for the first movie. Now here's McDonald's Bumpy from Game Cretaceous. Got a little action feature there. Found this one at a thrift store. Then I have this one here in an egg. Yeah, this is the one I actually got from McDonald's. But it's nice to have a second one for display reasons. And then here I believe we have, this is the Carnotaurus Toro. Yep, there he is. Oh, his little baby-ness. Really like these guys. I think these are definitely a nice little McDonald's toy. It's very fun trying to go out and hunt these things. And I got some assistance from the legendary Cuber himself. And then here's the T-Rex. The Triceratops I do have, but it's with my brother because he's the one who wanted it, and that is completely fine. Here's some Jurassic World humans from Hasbro. Here's the only, like, almost 3.75, sorry, inch figure. It's Owen, who doesn't look anything like Owen. And then these small army guys that are just kind of cool to have as army guys, but that's about it. And they have, like, 2 pieces of articulation. And they fit in these little vehicles I'll show in a moment. But, obviously they did not care much at all for scale. Here's some Jurassic World vehicles. Here's the gyrosphere, which had, you know, nice little damage feature I liked. Came with that nice Indominus down there. Obviously has a disc launcher for some reason. But this one is probably the best in my opinion. Then we have a submarine, which comes with this little net you can fire at dinosaurs, or rather the Mosasaurus. And yeah, it has articulation and an additional action feature for beating the heck out of the Mosasaurus for some reason. And of course you can put a human in there. Here's 2 more Jurassic World vehicles. Here's the attack helicopter with a giant gun for some reason. And here's Owen's motorcycle from Jurassic World. Yes, it's literally just a reused Indiana Jones motorcycle figurine vehicle, which is fine because it actually has some pretty good sculpt work, but definitely not the motorcycle from Jurassic World. And then this helicopter, again, he gave up and did not care about scale whatsoever. But at least these things came with like fun action features and, you know, had some playability to them, I suppose. Next we have this little Matchbox Ford Explorer from Mattel. Obviously not as good as that one there. Only 3 years later they finally came out with one for the main line. But yeah, it's still a nice little vehicle to have and definitely goes well with my minis. Here is Jurassic Park 3 Billy. Oh gosh, there we go. By Hasbro. Found this just randomly in the thrift store and wasn't sure if it was even Jurassic Park. Now here's here's some assorted Kenner humans. I got these all at some antique shop for $7.50, I believe was the price. 3 Ellies. Definitely don't need all of these. So I might definitely do some either customs or sell some of them. So I don't need 3. We have Robert Muldoon, I guess. It's just more like Arnold Schwarzenegger almost. And he actually came with part of his gear. I couldn't find the gear for the others, unfortunately. But maybe if I looked harder through the giant bin of toys, I would have found it. But still, really nice to have Muldoon. Here's Tim Murphy, which is based on the novel design, or the novel version of the character. So he's a teenager, an older teenager, and he's, you know, kind of nice as well. We got some nice details. Of course, these are all 4-inch figures, and I can't remember for the life of me who this guy is, but I know I'm pretty sure he's from Series 2 of Jurassic Park. And of course, he kind of looks like a Jurassic Park worker. I can't remember. I want to say Dr. someone, but do not quote me. But don't quote me. I'm just happy to have this guy because I think it's a nice, cool addition. I like his very armored attire. Here's some assorted Mattel humans. Here is Alan Grant. I love Alan Grant. Here's some assorted Mattel humans. Of course, they're made out of a much gummier plastic, but I think their sculpt detail is just much better. And the plastic on her, like that's flaking right now, makes it look like she has some loose hairs. But this is Ellie, of course. Very nicely sculpted. Alan's pretty nicely sculpted as well. I really adore all the points of articulation all these guys have, so you can get them such a much larger range of motion. Here's Darius from Camp Cretaceous, of course, a lot more cartoony, because, you know, it's a cartoon character. There's the Comic-Con exclusive Ray Arnold, and he actually has a removable arm, which was a pain in the behind to get in, so I'm not going to remove it, but you can see the seam. And yeah, very nice to have. Of course, the Hammond Collection, bro. There you go. The Hammond Collection is a bit better, I think, in terms of articulation and whatnot. But I'm fine with this one. It's nice that we actually have a John Hammond figure now. And mine is a little broken, I'm afraid. His head's a little wobbly. But it's nice to have Mr. John Hammond himself. Here's Owen and Claire from Dominion, which are also very nice, detailed figures and a nice range of articulation for them both. Last few items here. Here is the base for the Ray Arnold Comic-Con exclusive, and I just got Sonia Santos on here from the Dominion line. I really like this base. It's such a nice inclusion. I think the action feature is a little funny. Let's see, this is just too loud. It's pretty late.
Hold on to your butts.
It's kind of weird because it's like Ray Arnold's talking to the raptor. But Sonia Santos is a nice addition as well. I just put her on here because I think her almost lab coat like attire kind of matches this sort of background. And yeah, just a nice little base to have. Speaking of Sonia Santos, here is the cage that came with that set and Ghost. It's got nice metal weathering details and just so many details all over the case. And when I saw this was coming out, I'm like, that is one of the only Dominion items I'm getting. And I got it twice because I love it so much. It is just such a nice cage to have. And you know, you can kind of put like any smaller size dinosaur in here, which is very nice. It's a pretty good piece of plastic too, and you can obviously paint, you know, some of these finer details to bring them out a bit more. But yeah, very nice little playset piece. Here is the Destructosaur Jurassic World helicopter, which is pilot. Much better than the Jurassic World helicopter. Of course, it is a Jurassic World helicopter from the first movie. Some of the only Mattel Jurassic World first movie toys that we've gotten so far. I know the screw holes on here bother people, but it doesn't bother me too much since it's a vehicle and not like an animal at the very least. There's, you know, scratch marks and other fine details all over this thing. And it's a pretty nice helicopter. Maybe not to scale. Probably should be a bit larger since it's a helicopter. and it's only a one-seater, which is kind of weird. But I think it's kind of a nice little vehicle. Definitely one of the highlights of Mattel is just the vehicles in general. So I really like this thing. Last but not least, here is the Jurassic Park Jeep 18, and of course you can see Muldoon, Malcolm, and an additional Ellie and Alan are in here, as well as all the accessories that come with all these guys. I just put them all in here to keep them all kind of together, because they're very small and could get lost. I also have Jurassic World. I also have Jurassic World Owens. It also has Hasbro Jurassic World Owens rifle, because Mattel hasn't released this, I think, as far as I know. And this actually has paint on it, which is weird. The Mattel accessories don't have too much paint. But yeah, I really like this vehicle. A bit oversized maybe, but the winch is cool, and it's nice that you can fit 4 humans in here. Always a fan of the Mattel vehicles. Here's the figures that Wolf Gamer has. As you can see, is Extreme Chompin' T-Rex, Extreme Chompin' T-Rex, Super Colossal T-Rex, Grab and Growl Indoraptor, Battle Damaged Monolophosaurus, Aurora Pteranodon, the McDonald's Camp Cretaceous Triceratops, Hasbro Junior Blue, I'm gonna call it, the Carnoraptor, Basic Figure Blue, Tac Pack Dimorphodon, T-Rex, the Stomp and Escape Tyrannosaurus, Primal Pal Blue, this Attack Pack Raptor, a few minis, T-Rex Stiggy and Spino, Matchbox Fallen Kingdom vehicle that I forgot the name of, Aurora Baryonyx, the Command and Conquer Carnotaurus version 1, another Chompin' Hasbro Rex, and this super dusty Dino Rivals Monolophosaurus. Yeah, so these are the figures that these are the figures that Wolf Gamer has in his collection. Right. Here is Kel's collection. As you can see up there, there's the Real Feel Mosasaurus and a little Snap Squad on top. We also have Limbo, Tarbosaurus, Attack Pack Gallimimus and Dracorex, Ceratosaurus Rorbor, Battle Damaged Spino, Pelosaurus, Styracosaurus from Dino Rivals, 2 Ankylosauruses, one from Dino Rivals, one from Dominion, Metricanthosaurus from Dino Rivals, Suchomimus, Action Attack Stegosaurus from Fallen Kingdom, Attack Pack Dimorphodon, Pachycephalosaurus from Hasbro, 2 Extreme Chompin' Rexes, one is the Lovely Bull, and one is the Standard Legacy Collection. Then we have the Chompin', I forgot the exact name of it, but the Camp Cretaceous Indominus, Battle Damage Strike, Roarvor Triceratops, the Mini Pustosuchus, and the Savage Strike, and this Hybrid FX Hasbro Rex, all of its spiky glory. The batteries were removed for obvious reasons, but yeah, so as you can see, this one now has a bunch of bullet holes, while the original did not. But yeah, so that's what Kel has. And I think that's going to wrap up this first part. And this first part was all the unopened toys. Of course, part 2 will be all the stuff I have in box, but you can see quite a bit of it there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.